Kurinji Senior Secondary School, CBSE, Namakkal.
Successful result producing school in state every year.
Administered by the Board of Directors with over 35 years of experience in the teaching field.
Special attention on art, craft, music, dance, silambam, yoga, skating and karate.
Focus on Hindi Sabha and Spell Bee Olympiad exams.
Smart class for effective and innovative learning and well-furnished library.
Solitary importance on sports and games in state and national level.
WhatsApp facilities to know activities of students and school inside the campus.
NEET, JEE, IIT coaching experts from Rajasthan and Andhra Pradesh along with our effective teachers.
Admission registration for classes LKG to +2.
Kurinji Educational Institution, Kavetipatti, Namakkal. Admission in progress. CBSE, KG to 12, contact 9025895176. Metric 6 to 12, contact 9344567484. For online admission, log on to www.kurinjischoolnkl.com.
See here, ma. In continuation to the last class, in this class we start with example 8.2. Before this class, in our last 3 classes, we discussed one example problem. It was example 8.1. So this is example 8.2. Right. It is an important example problem for our competitive exams like NEET, JEE mains, right? So for our competitive exams point of view also, this model is very, very important. That's why I will explain you clearly, and here description also they have given much, because it is textual problem, no? That's why they have given much description. But as we are going to do these type of problems continuously, description will keep in our mind automatically, but the solution is, or the final answer is important. Okay. See here. First, see the problem. 3 equal masses of m kg each are fixed at the vertices of an equilateral triangle ABC. So equilateral triangle, no? So all sides are equal. So which is what? A, B, C. 3 equal masses M, M, M. So this is also same amount of mass. That is what? Small m. Okay. I didn't write here, but I am saying. So it is also small mass m. It is also small mass m. This is also small mass m. But some other mass is kept at its centroid, but it is 2m. It is 2 small m. It is 2 small m. 2 small mass, 2 small m. So there are totally 4 masses. 3 masses are at the vertices, each of mass small m kg, and the fourth one, the mass is 2m, but which is present at centroid. Which is present at centroid. Okay. So 3 equal masses. 3 equal masses of mass m kg each are fixed at the vertices of an equilateral triangle ABC. At the vertices of an equilateral triangle ABC. Okay, right. Now it is what? A and B. 2 things are there. So in this problem we have to find 2 things. First A, and then we will go for B. See here. What is the force acting on a mass 2m placed at the centroid G of the triangle? What is the force acting on a mass 2m, 2 small m, placed at the centroid G of the triangle? This is what the centroid, and where we have we kept a mass 2m. So you please keep in mind, so these are the vertices, and this is the centroid, and G is the letter to indicate centroid, and A, B, C are the vertices. And if you see this picture with respect to coordinate system, which is x-axis and this is y-axis, right? So this is x-axis and this is y-axis, and this is the right centroid, because the picture is a equilateral triangle, no? So this is what centroid kept at its that is what origin of coordinate system. So it is like 0, 0. The x coordinate and y coordinates of this position of the position of centroid will be 0, 0. Right. The question is, what is the force acting on a mass 2 small m placed at the centroid G of the triangle? You know very well, in this universe, any 2 bodies attract each other with certain amount of force, that is gravitational force, and that's you can calculate by using the formula F is equal G into m1 m2 by r square. So m1 m2 are the two masses and r is the distance between the geometrical centers. Okay, distance between the center of mass of the two bodies, and G is the universal gravitational constant. Okay, right, that is what according to Newton's law of gravitation, that formula we also derived, and that is the mathematical form of Newton's law of universal gravitation. That is capital F is equal to capital G into m1 m2 by r square. Okay, right. So that is what mass. So by using that formula, what is the force acting on a mass 2m placed at the centroid G of the triangle. And one more very important thing is, force is a vector quantity, so gravitational force is also a vector quantity. So direction also important, because sometimes it may cancel, because if the magnitude is same and the direction is opposite, when two forces are common, for example minus 10 newtons plus 10 newtons. So what is minus 10 newtons? That is the 10 newtons which is acting along negative x-axis. What is plus 10 newtons? That is the force which is acting along positive x-axis, right? To represent in clear, 10 I cap newtons. So what does it mean? The force which is acting on the body along positive x-axis. For example, minus 10 I cap newton. What does it mean? The force acting along negative x-axis, right? Similarly, 10 J cap along positive y-axis, minus 10 J cap along negative y-axis. Similarly, 10 K cap along positive z-axis, minus 10 K cap along negative z-axis. So why I am saying all these things means, when a quantity is vector, we must be very careful. Otherwise, we may get a lot of, definitely there is a chance for getting wrong answer, right? That's why when we are going to operate, when we are going to get the mathematical operations of vectors, direction is very important and we must be very careful, right? See this. What is the force acting on a mass 2m placed at the centroid G of a triangle? See here. First we will finish A and then we will go for B. Okay. Why? Because first if you complete A, then you can clearly concentrate on B. See this. A. The angle between GC and the positive x-axis. The angle between GC and the positive x-axis. See here. So what is GC? This is. What is positive x-axis? This is the positive x-axis. The angle between GC and the positive x-axis is 30 degrees. And so, is the angle between GB, right? Is the angle between GB and the negative x-axis also. The properties of, the properties of triangles and the alternate angles and composite, that's alternate angles and opposite angles, right? So that's why here when it is 30 degrees, according to geometrical mathematics, when it is 30 degrees, this angle is also, this angle means the angle between GB and negative x-axis also will become 30 degrees, because it is equilateral triangle, right? The sum of three angles in a triangle is equal to 180 degrees, and in case of equilateral triangle, these angles will also be equal, like 60 degrees, 60 degrees, 60 degrees, right? And when I am saying this angle is the angle between GB and negative x-axis is 30 degrees, means you keep in mind the properties of triangles and the lines and angles. Okay, right. Now, the individual forces in vector notation are individual forces, because the force between this 2m and this m. So that is what FGA. So how much is it? G into m into 2m divided by 1 into j cap, divided by 1 into j cap. Okay, right. And why it is j cap? This force is towards, this force is along positive y-axis. That's why they kept j cap. Similarly, you go for FGB. This is what G into small m into 2m. Small m into 2m divided by 1 into, in the bracket it is what? Minus I cos 30. This is which is what? Minus I cos 30 minus j sin 30. This is right? It is minus j. So minus I cos 30 minus j sin 30 minus j sin 30. Right. Next, this is what FGC. See here, between these two. This is GM into 2M divided by 1 plus I cos 30 minus J sin 30 minus J sin 30. So here we calculated individual forces, right? The individual forces in vector notation are in vector notation are. Direction also important. Here I cap, J cap, K cap are indicating the directions, right? The directions of the particular quantity. Now, from the principle of superposition and the law of vector addition, okay, the resultant gravitational force Fr on 2m is. So, what is the principle of superposition? We already discussed, So, from the law of principle of superposition, okay, and okay, that is what law of vector addition. In the chapter of that is what motion in a plane, we discussed what is the parallelogram law of vectors addition, what is the triangle law of vectors addition, what is polygon law of vectors addition, right? Anyhow, from two things. One is principle of superposition, what we discussed in the same chapter in our previous classes, and the law of vector addition, that's we discussed in the chapter of motion in a plane. Here, the resultant gravitational force F capital R on 2m is Fr is equal to, we have to take the sum of these three things now, FGA plus FGB plus FGC, right? Now Fr is equal to, see here, it is 2 gm square now. So in the denominator there is 1 so it doesn't matter. So 2 capital G small m square into J cap plus which is what 2 capital G small m square into minus I cos 30 minus J cap sin 30 minus I cap cos 30 minus J cap sin 30 plus this one. That is what 2 gm square into I cap cos 30 minus J cap sin 30. So, if you observe carefully, this is okay. That is 2 gm square J cap. But here it is 2 gm square minus I cos 30. No. But here plus I cos 30 is there. Here minus 2 gm square J cap sin 30 is there. But here minus it is what plus of minus, right? It is also minus and this is also minus, right? And after completion of this is this ith term will become 0. That is what the term which consists of I cap will become 0 directly, but J cap should be added, and here again J cap is there, and you know the value of sin 30 is 1 by 2. Sin 30 is 1 by 2. Okay, right? Finally here the resultant force what we are getting is 0. The resultant force what we are getting is 0. Okay. So that's what you can say finally. So what can we write here? Alternately one expects on the basis of symmetry. One expects on the basis of symmetry that the resultant force ought to be 0. Ought to be 0, right? The resultant force what we got as 0, right? Okay, right. Now see here B. What is the force if the mass at the vertex A is doubled? The question is, what is the force if the mass at the vertex A is doubled? That is what, take AG is equal to BG is equal to CG, that is equal to 1 meter. This is also applicable for AM. So that's why while calculating the force, I took it as 1. Okay, I took it as 1. That's why, so this is also applicable. And now we are going to discuss B. So when we are going to discuss B, the mass at vertex A is doubled. So that is what doubled means, what? 2 into small m. 2 into small m, right? See here. By symmetry, the x component of the forces cancel out. See here. So x component of the forces cancel out because of symmetry. X component of the forces cancel out, right? the y component survives. The y component survives. Okay, see here, Fr is equal to, so what about this here, 4 into gm square into j cap minus 2 gm square into j cap. So what is the resultant? 2 gm square into j cap, 2 gm square into j cap. Okay, right. Now for the gravitational force between an extended object and a point mass, for the gravitational force between an extended object like the earth, for the gravitational force between an extended object like the earth and a point mass, capital F is equal to capital G into m1 m2 by r square. This is what this is the formula already we derived now. It is the formula for gravitational force between the two objects, between the two objects of masses m1 and m2, m1 and m2, and here we have to take it as magnitude only because it's a magnitude. See, there is no arrow mark, so it's a magnitude, right? For the gravitational force between an extended object like the earth and a point mass, from this relation capital F is equal to capital G into small m1 small m2 by small r square is not directly applicable because the earth is very big. That's, you know, I hope you are able to imagine what is the size of the earth. And you know, point mass means like a dust particle, like a dust particle. So it is not directly applicable. So with this formula we can't apply directly. Now each point mass in the extended object, each point mass in the extended object, each point mass in the extended object, here see this, will exert a force. Each point mass in the extended object will exert a force on given point mass, and this force will not all be in the same direction, and these force will not all be in the same direction. We have to add up all these forces. We have to add up these forces vectorially for all the point masses in the extended object to get the total force. Now this is easily done using calculus. That is what integration. Okay, calculus method. For two special cases, a simple law results when you do that. So regarding the gravitational force between the point mass and the extended object, right, we have to do two things to get the answer in simple way, right? One is the force of attraction between a hollow spherical shell, the force of attraction between a hollow spherical shell of uniform density and a point mass situated outside. The force of attraction between a hollow spherical shell of uniform density and a point mass situated outside is just as if the entire mass of the shell is concentrated at the center of the shell. So he is saying that how it behaves. So the force of attraction between a hollow spherical shell of uniform density and a point mass situated outside is just as if the entire mass of the shell is concentrated at the center of the shell. And how can we discuss this situation quantitatively? See here, so quantitatively this you can understood that gravitational forces caused by various regions of the shell have components along the line joining the point mass to the center as well as along a direction perpendicular to this line. This is the fact already we know. And after that, the components perpendicular to this line cancel out when summing over all regions of the shell, leaving only a resultant force along the line joining the point to the center. Then what about the magnitude of this force? Magnitude of this force works out to be as we discussed just now here, right? So in the same class, how we calculated that, like that you can discuss, right? Next one more way, that is what, how we can do like this, like in that one more. See here he told, no, for a special cases, for two special cases, a simple law results when you do that. Second case, the force of attraction due to hollow spherical shell of uniform density. The force of attraction due to a hollow spherical shell of uniform density on a point mass situated inside it is 0. I will repeat once again, you be concentrate. The force of attraction due to hollow spherical shell of uniform density on a point mass situated inside it is 0. Situated inside it is 0. Okay, right. So how can we see this quantitatively? Here we can again understand this result. Various regions of spherical shell attract the point mass inside it in various directions. These forces cancel each other completely. I will repeat once again how to see this point quantitatively, that I am explaining now. So we can again understand this result, that is what various regions of the spherical shell attract the point mass inside it in various directions. These forces cancel each other completely, right? So this B, what is that in this example 8.2, so whatever the B, A, B, two things are there now. So this B problem helps us to understand clearly what happens when we are going to take different examples. Different examples means generally the gravitational force capital F is equal to capital G into small m1 small m2 by r square, defined by taking 2 point masses or 2 small masses. But it is a universal law, no? It is a universal law. So when we are going to apply this for whole universe, that is what in this universe we have celestial bodies with different mass. Dust particle is also a massive particle, no? Similarly, if you take the mass of the sun, if you take the mass of the earth, if you take the mass of some other planet, so these are big masses. What is the mass of the earth? 6 into 10 to the power of 24 kg. So when you compare this mass with the mass of the particle that is very small, like dust particle, huge difference is there now. So in that situation, how can we apply the Newton's law of universal gravitation? That is the discussion here when we are talking about this B. So that's why this theory or this discussion is important. You watch this video again and again regarding the B. Regarding A, it's okay, because regarding A we are calculating, right? Regarding A, we calculated the resultant gravitational force on a mass 2m which is present at centroid, because of these three masses which were kept at the vertices of an equilateral triangle, right? Is a linear mathematical or general mathematical method, because of this what is this? Because of the force is a vector quantity. First we have written individual forces in vector notation because of these three masses on this mass 2m. Afterwards we added. So that is what, from the principle of superposition, right? From the principle of superposition, and that is what the law of vector addition will give us the resultant gravitational force, which became as 0 here. Regarding these values, it became 0. So after that, B. So in B, the important point is we discussed the possibility, right? The possibility of Newton's law of gravitational force when we are going to compare, when we are going to consider two masses. One is heavier and another one is smaller, right? That's why, so B, you watch again and again, you try to understand clearly what he is saying, right? So we are also considered, that is the method of calculus, and then we also have two special cases, so which gives, right? So which gives the result, and he told the 2 points, and I already told you how we have to understand these two things quantitatively, okay, right? So in our next class, we will continue with next continuation topic. Thank you.